Hello, welcome back everyone. Our next presenter is Nashwa Tantawy. She's both a practitioner and a researcher in a wide range of areas of psychology, I have to admit. She's currently working on how to use AI for psychological personality assessments. Today, she will talk about the future of personality assessments in the workplace with a specific focus on artificial intelligence and how these might benefit us by neutralizing human biases, improving the quality of hiring process, and optimizing talent acquisition. I think when you type in Google future, one of the buzzwords that comes up is this artificial intelligence. So I'm quite excited to hear about it. Okay, Nashwa, it's over to you now.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for this introduction. I'm so happy to be in this conference today. Actually, my first time to be in this conference was like 2018, before the pandemic. And at that time, I was just a newcomer to Dubai. And when I joined the conference, it was amazing for me, a wonderful way to start my resuming my career here in Dubai and connect with all those wonderful practitioners. It was an amazing place, and I am so happy that we are returning back now. Yes, yet we are still today online, but tomorrow at least we have the workshops. So I'm so happy to be part of this. And today we will be talking about artificial intelligence, this buzzword, the personality assessments in the workplace in a post-COVID world. So mainly what we will cover today is talking about the pandemic effect on organizational settings, the HR services in specific, HR departments and how they were affected, and about how to use AI as the future for many of the services of the HR, like recruitment, selection, learning and development as well. And finally, we will use the use case of Ocean platform. We'll talk in details about how does it work and the latest study that I am working on. So, as we all know, as we all impacted in a way or another by the COVID. Unfortunately, it has a drastic impact on both personal and professional setting. And one of the indicators of that, our talk today that was supposed to be in person. And actually, in The Economist, this edition, this article that they were talking about how the big hit on organizational settings of the pandemic is exactly the same as the financial crisis that took place on 2008. At that time, it hit the CFOs of the companies. But now the pandemic hit the CHROs of the companies and their teams. If you are working in HR, or you know anyone else that is working in HR, they will find them all over the place. It's not just the impact of the pandemic, but they will find them not being able to handle the new situation. How can I do the firing? Unfortunately, the rehiring, the working from home, maintaining communication between employees engagement, their mental health, ensuring results, and much more. So it was chaotic, especially at the beginning. And looking into this at that time, people were not ready for this transformation, especially when it comes to HR departments. There's no that much of technological adoption that we were thinking that everyone is using social media, everyone is using like new systems. But in reality, automating the lifestyle in general was not one of the things that HR were focusing on. And actually, in one of the research studies, it showed that only 16% of HR professionals in the US, a place where there is very high technological adoption, are only prepared to use virtual platforms for the recruitment and onboarding activities. At the same time, with this low adoption, we will find a great hype that started to happen at that time on all platforms that we were used, like Zoom, Teams. We will find that 370% in Zoom sales in the last 3 months of 2020 in comparison to 2019, we will find definitely Amazon was one of the first companies and the largest companies to hire, with 450,000 new hires that took place after the pandemic. While in several studies as well that were carried out after the pandemic, they are showing a great tendency for adoption for technology, that 60% of IT organizations are investing to improve employee experience to support the remote workplace and productivity and performance after the pandemic. So it started to happen, this whole thing, not by choice. It was a fact that we have to adapt to, and it's still the time to change. So a lot to be working on afterwards. So as we mentioned, the hiring process, especially that a big part of HR services, especially with all the dynamics that happened after the pandemic, or how are we gonna manage our hiring process and replacement process. And actually, the hiring process automation is in top of the list for the technology adoption, including psychological assessment for personnel selection, placement, and development. And actually, if we look at the full hiring process, we will find it very common that if you look at yourself, you will find yourself even applying for jobs on your mobile phone. Go to any application for a job application and you just go and easy apply without really investing a lot of time. In a study, it's 58% of Glassdoor users are looking for jobs on their mobile phones. And actually, they are not fresh grads. It's there with very high adoption rate when it comes to people in their mid-30s and mid-40s. So the application is very well adopted, but how about the hiring process itself, the sourcing, the selection, the shortlisting, putting in mind that it's a very hectic process. It's very costly, it's very tiring, time consuming, and frustrating. And the problem with bad hires is a big problem, because you will find in many studies that definitely not everyone that you will be selecting will be the perfect employee at the end. Actually, in a study here, 1 in 3 hires are unqualified for the jobs that they were hired for, while 1 in 4 are overqualified. And there is this statistic. It was very interesting for me that actually 30% of the employees' wage for the first year is the cost for a bad hire. So look at the full amount that you are paying for this person. 30% of it is just the cost, because you have to rerun the whole process over and over again, which is very hectic. So looking into all of this, and with the pandemic effect, so there is a big need to start to use new technologies for the hiring process. So what are the possible technologies that can be used that can imitate exactly what a person can do? Because in the hiring recruitment, it requires some sort of information, some sort of interviews, seeing the person, checking his CV, and giving a feedback accordingly. And here comes the use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not a new word, or is not a new technology. It has been there for a very long time, since the 1950s. And it's very basic, that it's like you are training a machine to do exactly the same things that a human can do, while having so much more benefits, because it can be faster, it can reduce some sort of the problems that happen when a human being is working on the process itself, including his biases, including his inability to have the greatest efficiency, because not everyone is the same. Some people are really good at this, we are just humans, we have our limitations. So and so many studies were there talking about AI, and as it can be a very promising solution to facilitate applicants' assessment process in general. So here we have something that we need to utilize that will help us in such conditions. So why are we going to choose AI over human beings? putting in mind that, as we were saying, that I'm a practitioner, I totally believe in human beings, and I totally believe that a machine is just a tool that we are programming in order to help us live our life in an easier way. Yet it can be very useful if it's trained by humans in the right direction. So benefits of AI system over traditional tools are a lot. And the biggest benefit here is the reducing bias. So have you been ever in an interview where you were going there as a wonderful, for example, myself, lady that's going there, very excited, very passionate, and you will find the interviewer a very old-fashioned, conservative male, for example, that you know for a fact that he doesn't like the fact that you're an achieved female. For example, no offense for males, just for a special category of conservative people. And you will know for a fact that it will impact your results in a way or another because of your gender. And this applies on so many other things: your gender, your age, years of experience, ethnicity, the how shared interests and commonalities between you and the interviewer, and all these factors are there to impact. I can tell you something. One of the biases is called the recency bias, and it's whenever you are, if you are an HR recruiter and you're seeing like 10 people, and you're so tired by the end of the day, and the last one that you remember is the recent one, the last one that you have seen, and you remember this person the most. So you can be biased toward this person for no valid reason except because he was last in your interview list. So the system doesn't take all of these things into consideration. It's dealing with everyone equally, which will make a big difference in increasing diversity in your company, because you will not be limiting yourself on a specific person. Definitely, it reduces time and cost, because these days I can see that a lot of rehires. I can see even when I'm checking the any link for jobs, I see lots of openings are happening lately, and I know that HR people are so tired these days, like skimming through 250 CVs just to select one person for one opening, and it's very time consuming. So if we use a system to do the short listing for us or the ranking for us in a way or another, it helps a lot. It increases the quality of the hiring process, along with it increases the brand image of a company, because the people will know that there is no bias, and they will have a decent feedback scientifically is related to what they have done in the interview. So if we are taking Ocean platform as a case study for today. So actually, Ocean is an AI system. Its goal is to support and enhance the recruitment process. It's interested in first impression analysis. Actually, it's very simple. The aim of this platform, and I will go into detail on how does it work, is that it predicts personality traits based on verbal and non-verbal cues obtained from video interview. And the personality assessment model, or the personality model that is adopting, is the big 5 personality traits, and we'll talk more about this. So taking you like in a journey on how does that happen. So oh my God, am I going to like meet an avatar? I like having an interview with human beings where I can impress them, when I can like show my area of expertise. I don't want them just to skim through a paper. But in reality, what really happens is that you will go through the normal interview. It is a video interview. You will open and you will start the normal flow of interview. You will be asked some questions. You will answer these questions. And here comes the work, the magic of the AI. So what happens is that during this interview, whether it's a video interview or a normal interview, we are all like what I'm doing now. We are all using our hands. We have lots of facial expressions, tone of voice. We are using certain language, and all these things are taken into consideration by the AI system that grabs all these verbal and non-verbal cues and do its magic with a very complicated systems, then comes out the detailed personality report with all the traits and all the competencies based on the Big Five model. So just returning a little bit, why personality assessments? Why to use personality assessments in the workplace? Because not necessarily everyone is believing in personality assessments. And if you just go online and you will write down personality assessment, you will find hundreds of tests that are very simple, and you will laugh on this. But in reality, personality assessments based on research are a very good indication for job performance and job placement as well. So based on a meta-analysis that happened over 100 years of research, a big research, they discovered that the job experience, the number of years that you're having, if you are applying for a certain job, having like 20 years of experience in the field, are just 16%, having 16% accuracy in predicting your job performance after being hired, while cognitive abilities, along with personality assessments, they are the highest. They contribute with 78% of accuracy for prediction of your job performance. They are valid and reliable tools. They predict eligibility for human resources. And there are actually lots of human administrated tools that can be used for personality assessments, including self-reports, peer assessments, structured interviews, and then filling some questionnaire. And all these items are there, valid and reliable, with very high solid validity and reliability, but their problems are mainly excuse me, related to the problems that we were talking about of the time consuming, the bias factors. So as one of the biggest models, or the most well-known models of personality assessments, is the Big Five taxonomy. It has been there for a very long time, researched. It's a valid, reliable way. Actually, it defines five main dimensions of personality, of individual personality, based on the person characteristics, patterns of thinking, how they feel and behave. And it's validated as a tool to predict job performance. It's split, it has 5 categories for personality. The first one is openness, how open you are for new experiences, how are you willing to try new things. Conscientiousness, which is related to how committed you are, how following a plan you are. Extroversion, how extrovert you are, open for people, dealing with other people openly and easily. Agreeableness, how sweet, nice, respectful you are, how you are accepting other people, listening to their opinions in a way or another. And finally, neuroticism, how anxious you are, the amount of an anxiety that you are showing, and the self-esteem. And whenever you have high neuroticism, it means that you have high anxiety level. And all these 5, you just don't have a score of you're either extrovert or introvert. No, it's more of a score, a certain percentage that applies for each one of those. And one of the main very well strengths of this model, that you can extract lots and lots of sub-traits that can be very much related to work performance and eligibility for a certain job. And actually, it's widely used across so many cultures and languages and genders, ethnicities, and it showed more or less same results, which is a very important factor to put into consideration as well when it is used. So what is required in here is to provide detailed personality traits of the candidate based on a well-established model like the Big Five model. So as we were saying, you will go do your interview, and the system will do its magic in order to provide you with these personality traits that we are talking about. So what happens? How come the system will get these these cues and will represent them with detailed personalities? So let's agree that, as we were saying, that we use lots of facial expressions and body language in our conversations. And actually, these are very good indicators for personality based on so many researches, because people are mainly expressing their thoughts and emotion through their words and the wordless signals, how they really react. And these things are the good thing about them, they are instinctively. They are not something that consciously you think about and decide to do. That's why it gives high accuracy in the prediction, because it's not something that you're faking. It's more of something that happens in milliseconds without being able to control it, which makes it very accurate for the prediction. So as I was telling you, this is a very universal tool, and these nonverbal cues, and they are almost the same. So whenever we smile, for example, or do like this, or move like this, more or less with very slight cultural differences in some of the gestures, but mainly the facial expressions are more or less universal. So for example, just to give you a small example about how to really correlate these non-verbal cues to the personality. So for example, extroverts are mainly showing upper body forward whenever they are talking. They are tilting their heads. They are energetic in their physical movements. They keep eye contact. Their eyes will be a bit wide while talking, and their gesture rates is a bit high, which is indicating afterwards how extroverts these people are. So the system gets all these cues in milliseconds and represent them and map them into the big five that we are talking about. So the system uses it's a machine learning system. And just to give a small glimpse, I know that these words might be a bit hard for people that are not from technology background. It's machine learning. It's teaching the machine, feeding the machine with the labeling of so many people, thousands of people that have done interviews, and then feeding the machine as well the scores for those people based on so many other assessments and tests that are being done. And accordingly, whenever myself will go and do the interview, the machine will go ahead, the computer will grab the video frames, facial action units, feature positions, gaze position, head position, body gestures, along with audio features, including frequency of the word, the tone of voice, the sentiment analysis, and some keyword detection if it's fit in the system. And then afterwards, it reads me in a way or another, do the correlation, and presents the big five for myself. And afterwards, there are lots and lots of other layers of mappings that are taking place in order to show subtraits, competencies, and leadership skills, and so many more of other research-based correlations that can take place. And accordingly, the employer can take a clear report for this person, including all these items, putting in mind that this is all based on first impression analysis. So at the end, it's a replacement for the first impression. Actually, the interviews might take place afterwards. The normal interviews might take place afterwards, but they will not be on the full 250 or 500 people that are applying. It will be on the shortlisted people, the top online. And the recruiter at the same time can watch these videos and create his own impression about this person. So just wrapping up this whole thing, there are lots of research that are done on how accurate such tools in the real life prediction of the personality assessments for the candidates, for hires. And at the same time, they can be used not only for new hires. Such systems can be used again for even existing employees in predicting their areas of development and the training and the teamwork, and a lot more of inputs that can be used to predict how can we really create and tailor some of the best ways and the best approaches to really place those people inside the company in the right place, and at the same time to give them the proper training. So finally, just to give you an overall view over the latest study that we are carrying out, it's a very it's comparing the AI outcome in comparison to one of the top more solid high in validity and reliability tool, which is Big Five inventory, a self-report and peer rating on new hires, and at the same time on existing employees. The study will be totally digital. We are currently working with the American University in Cairo in like applying this study in order to get the to prove the solid results of the AI system in comparison to solid, high, reliable, and valid tools like the Big Five inventory.
Okay.
So
thank you very much.
yeah.
We have some questions and we have only 4 minutes left. So I just
Okay.
want to fire away if that's okay. One of the
Sure. I'm done.
one of the questions is, are you then suggesting here to replacing the whole process with AI, or use AI only at the early stages? I'm just going to read some questions so maybe you can answer them together. So if the AI is using body language to determine one's personality, can't the person alter their body and facial language to get the desired result? Another question, we have quite a few here, but the other question I had was that, is it all rosy and pink? Are there any disadvantages of it, or can it be misused? We have 4 minutes to get through this question.
So let me start by the question about the facial expressions and body language and whether a person can fake them or not. So definitely human beings are able to go and show some interest or passion during an interview, and this is something that we are all trying to do in all cases in order to present ourselves in a certain way. We choose certain answers, we are well prepared. But the idea with the non-verbal cues, which is the facial expression and body language, most of the time these are things that are not really consciously that we are doing, and they happen in milliseconds. It's a matter of the first thing that happen whenever you are trying to frown, for example, or you move your body or things like that in the middle of the conversation. They are not conscious. You will not be able to control them. So whenever the system will start to capture these cues with very high accuracy, they are quite a good representation of the real feelings or the real attitude the person is showing in the interview, rather than just relying on what the person is saying from a verbal perspective.
And do you then suggest to replacing the whole system, or just using this in the early stages? What is your suggestion here?
We'll never be able to replace people. People are there to really have a proper understanding for the job. The hiring manager, the HR team, everyone is there, has his own question, the right question to answer in order to have a proper conversation about the details of whether this person is really experienced or not. It's called a first impression. So rather than just going there and skimming through all these CVs, other than having so many interviews for people that at the end will not be accepted because of their personality in a way or another, this will give you a clear view at the beginning to help you out, to take all these inputs, to have a clear rating for those people to start your normal hiring process. You will go through the interviews, you will go through the technical interviews and everything afterwards, but with a clear view, with main areas of strengths and weaknesses for those people, with a short list of candidates, other than the hundreds or thousands of people.
Just 1 minute left. So is there any disadvantages to it, or we need to watch out for, or can it be misused?
So definitely, like anything in the world, nothing is perfect 100%. Number one, there is the problem that at the end, these systems are fed by normal people.
Programmed
by normal people and programmed by normal people, and it's fed by normal interviews that people has done before, with normal assessment done by human beings at the same time. So the amount of bias that was done from the beginning will definitely be there with the system. the accuracy will not be 100%. The accuracy rate, definitely, it's like in its 80s, for example. So there you will find like 15% of people, this will not 100% apply on them and give the correct answers. So
we
the
need to
limitations
aware
definitely
of
are there.
those biases.
Lots of enhancements are being done in order to reduce all these things and enhance the systems and feeding them with new information in order to reduce the biases as much as possible.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now we need to give a 5-minute break before our next presentation by Amanda. Thank you, Nashwa. It was very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
so happy to be with you today.
Can't wait to see the results of that study you're working on too.
Yes, definitely. Maybe next conference.
Yeah, perfect. See you. Bye-bye.